Now, the blueprint to fix this stifled economy, yes, it is stifled, is simple. Two parts. Part one, reject all that Obama has foisted upon the American people in the free markets. All of it. Number two, do what Reagan did. That's it. It's that simple. So why aren't we going back to the future using the blueprint of the 1980s today? Joining me now from Chicago, Chairman of the Society to Advance Financial Education, Steve Beaman. Steve, the choice in November couldn't be more different and divergent when you compare Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Essentially, it's redistribution of wealth under Hillary Clinton versus the free markets with Donald Trump.
I think you're exactly right. We have not seen, at least in my lifetime, two candidates with such distinctly disparate views of the economy and what we want out of it. You know, as has been said, the Trump campaign is saying we're going to cut corporate taxes, cut individual taxes, and cut regulation. The Clinton campaign has said we're going to raise taxes on the wealthy, we're going to redistribute more, and we're going to penalize companies that attempt to move out of the country. That's a recipe that's been tried in the Soviet Union and Venezuela, throughout countries where this big government thing has worked, as opposed to the legacy of John Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and other free market presidents who've seen our economy boom. And that's what we need to get out of this economic doldrum in a big way.
Yeah, there's an organization out there called the National Association of Business Economics, made up of 400 so-called experts, including Alan Greenspan, who is, in my opinion, kind of a hyper-partisan kind of guy. And they are choosing Hillary Clinton's economic proposals, number one, Gary Johnson, number two, and Donald Trump at 93. What kind of medication are they taking over there?
I think you're looking at the difference between the ivory tower and the real world where the rubber meets the road. Let's look at that ivory tower for a minute. We're looking at 2% annual growth rates to our GDP. That equates to a $360 billion increase in our gross domestic product. Well, when you look at that in a vacuum, you say, wow, we're growing. That's fabulous. But you look at the federal deficit at $600 billion. So we're even growing at 2%. We're going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole.
Hillary Clinton, in essence, wants to raise taxes. And when you raise taxes on one sector of our society, it has a ripple effect on many, many others. And Donald Trump is trying to point that out on the campaign trail and also in his latest television ad. Roll tape.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the middle class gets crushed. Spending goes up. Taxes go up. Hundreds of thousands of jobs disappear. It's more of the same, but worse. In Donald Trump's America, working families get tax relief.
It will happen. It will be a continuation of Barack Obama's failed economic policies. Barack Obama doesn't even have economic policies. They're just residue of his ideological policies. But the bottom line is, when you look at Donald Trump's personal income tax plan, it's reduced down to just 4 brackets.
Well, let's be realistic. Anybody watching your show right now, and I pray there are some people from the progressive left listening, when you give people control over their economic life, we have prosperity. We have a rising tide that lifts all boats. When you go to government, whether it's state, local, federal government, and give them control over your economic life, you get stagnation. In the early 90s, I had the chance to take Soviet personnel through the United States. And what a telling story that was to me to understand the drawback to having government really imposing on business. When you look at the social democracies of Europe and everybody points to them and says, wow, look how well these things do. They only do well because of the United States. We are the innovator. We're the growth economy. We created the consumer economy. This freedom that we enjoy must grow, not shrink, if we're going to see a 21st century that's opportunistic. And I think that's what we all want.
I wonder if the American people really realize if we slash the corporate tax rate from where it is now at around 35, 40%. Donald Trump is suggesting 15%. I suggest 0. Because, as we all know, if you really think about a corporate tax, there is no such thing. The American people pay that tax. It's built into our goods and services that we purchase through these companies. And if you lower it to 15%, it would be great. It would be not only a boom for these businesses, but it would be more money in our pockets as well.
You know, I smile because you just said something that shows that you have a deep understanding of economics, and your listeners should give you credit. Corporations do not pay taxes. They either charge the shareholder through lower dividends or they charge the customer. But let's talk about this tax rate, because people get confused when we talk about corporate tax rates at 35%. Small businesses, the subchapter S, mom and pop shops, are taxed at 39%. It's ridiculous, and we're stifling growth. Let's give that money back. Let's deregulate. You go look at the American statistics. More businesses now fail than start. That's frightening. And what we need to do is give freedom back to the business enterprise sector so that mom and pops can start. In 1945, 70 or 80% of Americans worked for companies with less than 50 people. Today, we're down to about 50%. We all know, though, well, and every economist will tell you, small business creates jobs.
Absolutely.
Large business transitions jobs. So we need it back, and that's why I've come out so vocally for the Trump agenda.
I think if the American voter can put aside personality and just look at policy on economics alone, the choice is crystal clear. Steve, thanks.